Gotta love Danny Arnold at tight end. If you're a tight end needy person, and pretty much all of us are, unless you have Travis Kelce, it's really hard to top the consistency of what Dan Arnold's done at the position. 24 targets in his last 3 games, 17 catches and 195 yards. Now, the touchdowns aren't coming because it's a terrible offense. There's not much surprise there, but he ran 80% of the routes, saw 7 targets and a 20% share this last week. He has now gone for 24, 12%, 19%, 25%, and 20% target share in his last 5 games since he's arrived in Jacksonville. 3rd in targets, 3rd in catches, 5th in yards among tight ends in that span, as well as 8th in half PPR fantasy points. Very, very solid numbers for Dan Arnold since he's become a Jacksonville Jaguar, and I don't see any reason why that won't continue with a soft passing game schedule. Trevor Lawrence has the 5th easiest schedule from here on out among QBs. I think Dan Arnold can continue to get it done, as can, well, we'll talk about Jamal Agnew in a second, I guess. I do have Sterling Shepard just a bit higher, and here's why. Among all these guys we've talked about, no one has shown the NFL pedigree of Sterling Shepard when he's healthy. Huge rub. He's missed a ton of time these last few weeks in this entire season, and really in his career, but across the last 5 weeks since he's played full games, not the last 5 weeks, rather, dating back to last year, we've had 5 full games. 8 receptions on 10 targets, 112 and 1 TD, wide receiver 4. 9 receptions on 12 targets, 77 yards and a TD, wide receiver 11. 7 receptions on 9 targets, 113 yards and a TD, wide receiver 8. 9 receptions on 10 targets, 94 yards, wide receiver 21. 10 receptions on 14 targets, 76 yards, wide receiver 19. So he's been a top 21 receiver in all 5 of his last healthy games. He's seen 10 or more targets in all but one of those, and that was a 9-target day. 7 or more catches across all those, 75 yards or more in all those, and a touchdown in 3 of his last 5 healthy games. That's a wide receiver 1 in fantasy, if and when he's healthy. Of course, the big rub there, but at only 34% rostered, like, there's far, far less certainty on the waiver wire than Sterling Shepard's health. At least you know if this guy is healthy and playing, he's going to be a very viable wide receiver 2 for you with a decent enough schedule moving forward for the Giants. Sterling Shepard is going to be like that forgotten, unsexy upside type of guy. Kind of on the radar these days, though, a little more sex appeal, I guess you could say, is Jamal Agnew, the Swagnew. Didn't have a single catch last week and still finished as the wide receiver 11 because he had 3 carries for 79 yards and a touchdown. Has become that Cordarrelle Patterson light for the Jaguars, as the beat writers were speculating he would be during their bye week. He now has 70 yards or a touchdown in 3 of the last 4 weeks. Very, very viable. I know it's a gross offense, but he's become the main vein of this offense in addition to Dan Arnold. Pretty wild stuff here. I think he's well worth about 12 to 15% or so of your fab here. Could be a very viable wide receiver 3 here moving forward. And my favorite wide receiver other than Sterling Shepard on this list, assuming, of course, Bateman, Elijah Moore, those guys are gone. I do think Jamal Agnew going to be pretty steady the rest of the season. And I know he didn't have a catch this last week, but he's averaged an 18% target share, 7.2 targets per game since DJ Chark sat. He's been the wide receiver 31 in fantasy. So, I mean, he has been a viable wide receiver 3 all year. Well worth a solid fab bid as a season-long option. Do you think Marcus Johnson has a lot of streaming appeal these next few weeks? He ran the most routes the last time Julio Jones missed the game, and yet again walked right on into that role. Ended up leading the Titans in targets with 6, turned them in to 100 yards as well. Also led the receivers with a 22% target share. Julio hasn't hit that high of a share in a single game this year. Guy just makes plays every time he gets a chuck to him. I think since Jones is on that IR, you know you got at least 2 to 3 more very viable streaming spots for Marcus Johnson. I think bye week blues hit you. This is not a bad option to turn to if you miss out on Jamal Agnew. Again, at tight end, we talk about Dan Arnold, definitely my favorite, the steadiest guy, but in terms of scoring, Conklin hitting the end zone not once but twice this last week. He ran a route on 77% of Kirk Cousins' dropbacks. It was only 11 yards and 3 catches on his 5 targets, but the 2 scores are crucial here. He is definitely an end zone beast, and he does have every now and again a big play come out down the seams for him. Solid role and a solid passing attack. What more can you ask for a tight end? At only 30% rostered, I think he should be well over half of that. I think he's well worth 10% or so of your fab. Indeed, Mr. Conklin. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, Share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.